Tim's News Explosion. 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 Tim's News Explosion.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's Tim's News Explosion. It is Monday, the 11th of July, 2022. We are live on the Wilms Front YouTube, D Live, and Odyssey channels, as well as on the interactive Entropy software, where you can send me a direct question or send through a super chat to support the show. Hello to the regulars in the chat, such as Brucey and BK. Please make yourselves known in the chat. It is 8:30 p.m. here in Melbourne, Victoria, where we remain the place to flee because the Australian Bureau of Statistics were highlighted in the Age today about the interstate mass migration during the 2 years of the pandemic. And yes, not surprisingly, this is probably the most comprehensive graph. So New South Wales, well, it was already losing people pre-pandemic, but has lost more during 2020 and 2021. They had obviously their second extended lockdown in 2021 after the initial national lockdown in 2020. Victoria was on the increase, as you can see, pre-COVID. 23,000 net migration and losing 31,000 people. Queensland, it was already rising pre-COVID, and its population migration has nearly doubled. So 80,000 over the past 2 years. It was 46,000 pre-COVID. This is comparing the pre-COVID years of 2018 and 2019. Western Australia went forward. They were going backwards. They lost 13,000, but have gained 11,000. South Australia was also on a decline, losing 8,000 pre-COVID, but has now got a net 1,300. Tasmania, not a lot changed there. Northern Territory, it lost more people pre-COVID, has lost less post-COVID, and ACT actually lost more people post-COVID. That's probably because they had an extended lockdown as well. High Peak Aussie Man wonder how many Australians have left since Albo took office. Well, they probably were leaving after the international border reopened when ScoMo was still Prime Minister, or during the 2 years of the international border closure. They probably got out with an exemption and perhaps never came back. Brucey says, "Where are people going? Somewhere else." That's the most basic explanation. But we had Albo today announce with Jim Chalmers that in September there's going to be a jobs summit with big business, big unions, sort of like a local economic forum, if you get my drift, where they're all going to plan how to solve the jobs skills shortage. And so they have been wanting to bring back mass migration since the international border was fully opened back in February to vaccinated people. Now it's fully open to anyone vaccinated and unvaccinated, though our international reputation is still trash over the past 2 years because of our police state lockdowns. particularly here in Victoria in 2020, 2021. July in Victoria was the lockdown month. So on this past Saturday, it was the 2-year anniversary of the second wave, second extended lockdown with the Ring of Steel and the curfew. And then this Saturday will be the 1-year anniversary of lockdown number 5, when there was that incursion from those removalists who came down from New South Wales. Of course, we've got this new wave of the Omicron subvariant BA4 and BA5, with hospitalizations with COVID increasing around the country, and many Victorians are rightly paranoid that masks and other mandates will come back. The new Health Minister, Mary Ann Thomas, has not ruled anything out. And in other bad news, our bedwetter Chief Health Officer Brett Sutton is back from leave. He's a mask zealot, though under the new pandemic management framework, he can only offer advice, and the health minister can choose to take it or leave it. We still have Dan Andrews on leave at the moment. So since Daddy Dan is gone, we've had basically the kids. They don't know what to say when it comes to COVID. I mentioned what the new health minister said. Like, this is the reason why Dan has so much power within the government, because he's like the rest of them are duds. I mean, it's pretty much an L-paid cabinet at the moment, which is good for Dan because his power is increased. Although there's a lot of resistance now, both in government and from actual real health experts, that mandates are not appropriate in the third year of the pandemic. That's what Federal Health Minister Mark Butler said yesterday. They're promoting the 4th dose, the second booster, a winter dose. So that was expanded by ATAGI last week. Anyone over 50 is recommended to get a winter dose, and that's available to anyone over 30s. And they've expanded eligibility to the antiviral pills available. There's one from Pfizer and one from Merck. They're going to be available to people over 70 and those over 50, I think, with underlying health conditions. I think that's it's still got the age restriction for underlying health conditions, but don't quote me on that. Look it up yourself. So they're available if these people who are eligible test positive, they're able to get a prescription for them to help prevent them getting seriously ill and dying. Alice Wonderland says, "Oh man, 4th dose plus boosters." Well, there's definitely going to be a 5th dose when the Omicron tailored vaccines come from Moderna and Pfizer later in the year. And they're also trying to get approved, Pfizer and Moderna, their baby mRNA vaccines for 6 months to 5 years. Now, last week, I mentioned that Tom Peacock, a virologist at the Imperial College of London, put out on Twitter that the likely next subvariant, Omicron subvariant to dominate is BA 2.75, which is from India, which of course is where Delta came from. But this week we had Professor François Boulou. He is from he's the director of the UCL Genetics Institute and a professor of computation biology at the University of London. And this is what he said: the BA6 variant is the ultimate beast. Its RO, reproductive rate, is 17.24. It carries a mutation in the ORFG gene. My friend Amy had a headache yesterday, which means that BA6 causes fulminant eschemopathy with marked brain edema and bilateral thalamic lesions. Be afraid. Be very afraid. Holy mother of God, that seems so bad. But the good professor, he followed up and said, this tweet is obviously utter nonsense, though many seem to have failed to immediately recognize it as satire. Why? Because many are fearful and traumatized, and we have become accustomed to the constant doom and gloom nonsense that grifters relish and feed on and fuel. So yes, Professor Francis Ballou, he's an actual infectious diseases expert, which means that he's much more grounded in rationality and fact. And so that was a good bit of trolling that he did on Twitter. I've certainly trolled people myself with that. Alice in Wonderland says, don't remind me, Tim, I got sucked in. It was all the gobbledygook. Yes, exactly. That's the layperson. They see that and think it must be bad. And Peak Ozyman says, totes scientific, bro. But something that is no laughing matter is the discovery of two cases of suspected Marburg virus reported in Ghana. And so Marburg virus, it's from the Ebola family of viruses. So it's a hemorrhagic fever. The samples have been taken from 2 people who died 2 weeks ago. And so 34 people are in quarantine. And so there was a single case was confirmed in Guinea last year. Both of these nations are in West Africa. The WHO declared it over in 5 weeks. And so it was initially detected in 1967 after outbreaks in Marburg and Frankfurt in Germany and Belgrade in Serbia. The WHO says those outbreaks were linked to laboratory work using African green monkeys who'd been imported from Uganda, meaning it was a lab leak. I thought it was a conspiracy theory that viruses could escape from labs and cause infection and death. But a type of fruit bat, the Rossosus apitus, I've probably pronounced all these wrongs, is considered to be the natural host of the virus. Initially, human Marburg virus infection results from prolonged exposure to mines or caves inhabited by these bat colonies. It's transmitted from to people from fruit bats and spreads among humans to human transmission. So symptoms are fever, headache, malaise, diarrhea, abdominal pain, nausea, vomiting, lethargy, muscle aches and pain, non-itchy rash, blood stools, vomiting blood, bleeding from the nose, gums, and vagina. Spontaneous bleeding at venipuncture sites, inflammation of the testicles, confusion, irritability, and aggression. The average fatality rate for this virus is about 50%. And most Marburg deaths occur between 8 and 9 days after the onset of symptoms. So it spreads, human transmission occurs through direct contact via broken skin or mucous membranes with blood's secretions or other bodily fluid of people infected with the virus. It can also spread via contact with surfaces contaminated with these fluids, and can also spread through contaminated clothing and bedding used by a Marburg virus patient, and burial ceremonies that involve direct contact with the body of deceased patients. The WHO says there are no proven treatments available with no vaccine or approved antiviral treatments, but a patient's chances of Survival can be improved by treatment of specific symptoms and rehydration via oral or intravenous fluids. The WHO says treatments involve blood products, immune therapies, and drug therapies are being evaluated. So I see that Alice says, okay, sounds very scary. Yes, it is definitely a far more serious and painful condition than what we found COVID to eventually be. It seems to be transmitted in the same way that monkeypox is being transmitted, though obviously it's a lot more painful and deadly. So yes, well, we hope that this can be contained. As this ABC article pointed out, there's been no reported cases in the past 2 weeks. But yes, unlike COVID, you pretty much know like you're really sick when you've got it. It's not. Remember, with COVID, not having symptoms is one of the symptoms. Like you pretty much know like you're really ill with these sort of symptoms. But I can't believe that it's named after the German city where it was discovered, Marburg. I mean, that's very racist against Germans. I mean, I'm of a German heritage. I'm very offended that they would use a city of a country's name. I mean, I remember the WHO didn't like us using the Wuhan flu virus, so I think it should be renamed. They still haven't come up with a name for monkeypox. Now, moving on to the incredible Sri Lankan revolution on the weekend. Food disaster has struck Sri Lanka due to the ruling political family, the Rajapaksas. They came up with this quack idea to move, or well, more like force organic farming on the nation and having farmers use synthetic fertilizer. And it was a total agricultural disaster. There are both fuel and food shortages. The Prime Minister, Mahandi Rajapaksa, he resigned on May the 9th, but the president, Gotabaya Rajapaksa, he remained until Saturday when People Power overcame what was a brutal local police and military response and stormed the presidential palace. And once they got into the palace, the president fled and he resigned. His resignation will take effect on July 13th. But they decided the people to enjoy the amenities of the president's palace, including the pool. And now the real Rakshan, who's of Sri Lankan ethnicity, but he considers himself a full-on Australian. He released a commentary video, and he also put out this tweet, which it's what I was thinking as well. How will Western leaders, media grapple with the minefield of commenting on people exercising their democratic rights to overthrow an government in Sri Lanka versus trying to convince their own citizens that any movement against the government in the West is an insurrection. I think that if brown people like storm a government building, then there's a revolution. But if white people do it, then it's an white supremacist insurrection. That seems to me that that's the distinction there. And you would have seen over in the Netherlands, their government also has a quack idea of, they want to slash nitrogen emissions by 50% by 2030, which will destroy family farms. And so the Dutch farmers have revolted. And because, well, they're not in the fields, the supermarket shelves are empty, and this is one of their many convoys throughout the Netherlands, and it's even spread to Germany now. Now, what's happened in Sri Lanka and what's happening in the Netherlands and spreading elsewhere will really terrify leaders around the world. And revolutions traditionally happen when the populations are hungry. And the people of Sri Lanka, they were hungry, no fuel. They literally were people with nothing to lose. This is why in Australia, the past 2 years, the Australian people, by and large, went along with the lockdowns because, well, there was food at the supermarket, there was power at their homes, internet, so they could stay warm, and they could watch Netflix or the latest reality TV show. As long as the peasants have their bread and circuses, they won't revolt. Now, moving on to the UK, where there's been a turmoil at within the government itself, with Boris Johnson forced out last Thursday after the Pincher affair. This former deputy government whip, who resigned after he was pinching two men at a Tory bar, and Boris Johnson, and his inner circle, denied that they knew much about Pincher's history of pinching men, and it just exposed Boris Johnson again being a pathological liar and trying to cover up scandal. And so what was it? There was about 60 government ministers who resigned in the end, and so now there's, as it's called in Australia, a Melbourne Cupfield of candidates who are wanting to succeed Boris Johnson as Prime Minister, who he's staying on as a caretaker Prime Minister. So the Conservative MPs, they whittle, they vote and whittle it down to a final two, who go to the final two go to the Tory party membership. And so these are the declared candidates so far. So you have Kemi Badenoch. So she was a minister. She is of Nigerian descent. You have Suvel Parveen, who is of Indian descent, Rahim Krishi, who is of Pakistani descent, Jeremy Hunt, obviously of Anglo-Saxon descent. He was the other candidate up against Boris Johnson, who the Tory party members voted for. But Jeremy Hunt is awful. He had a hard-on for China's COVID lockdowns. And so, yes, we want him nowhere near the prime ministership. Sajid Javid, the health secretary, whose resignation triggered partly triggered the mass resignations. So there's Penny Mordaunt. I haven't heard of her before. Grant Shapes, haven't heard of him before. Rishi Sunak, the former Chancellor of the Exchequer, he is of Indian descent. The two names I said above, obviously of Anglo-Saxon descent. Rishi Sunak has been the subject of negative press coverage because of his wife, Akshi Murthy. She's a Indian citizen. She's the son of an Indian businessman. She's not a British citizen. She was using she was using her non-citizenship status to avoid foreign tax in the UK. You have Liz Truss, Anglo-Saxon descent, Foreign Secretary running. Tom Tugendhat, of Anglo-Saxon descents. Nadeem Sahawi, he was the Chancellor for a short time after Rishi resigned. He was born in Iraq. The reason why I mentioned all their ethnicities, because if there's 6 of the 11 candidates declared so far of what you would call non-Indigenous British descent. And obviously Britain is very diverse now, to use that term. So if one of the non-Indigenous Conservative MPs is selected to be Prime Minister, it will be interesting to see what the consequences are for the British identity going forward. Now, there was a tragic, shocking political development in Japan with the assassination of former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. So he was Prime Minister from 2006 to 2007 to 2012. From 2012 to 2020, he was a member of the ruling Liberal Democratic Party that's largely ruled Japan since 1955. He was campaigning for the LDP in upper house elections, which were held on Sunday. Japan has strict gun control, and it's a high trust society. It has a low murder rate, so this is very shocking, though there have been political assassinations in Japan before. And of course, well, it's in our it's in the history books what Imperial Japan did to the Indo-Pacific during World War II until Australians. But it's the Japan of today, what the Japan that my generation knows, and even baby boomers and Gen Xers know, is that the Japanese people, they're some of the nicest, most polite people. They've given us corporations like Sony, cars like Honda, games like Nintendo, and they also own all our beer now. They own Carlton and United Breweries, yet we don't care because Japan is such a great friend and ally now. They're in the Quad with us. We have a special relationship with them. They are a democracy, even though one party tends to win all the time. So the assassin, the suspect, Yamagami Tusesi, 41, he told investigators that he believed the Japanese leader was linked to a religious group that he blamed for his mother's financial problems. So the Unification Church confirmed that the suspect's mother is a member. Now, there's been countless conspiracy theories about his assassination already. I don't know if any of them have substance or not. I mean, it's still very early on, and but yes, this assassin, he seems like a real kook, and apparently he made his own gun. So yes, gun control failed there. Mad Pyman says, Abe is the modern day JFK, is the modern day warning to those who stand up for freedom. And Bakari says, yeah, not based. He pushed back on some of the anti-Japanese stuff about war crimes. Also, I would rather the Japanese rule. I won't read the rest of what he said there, but obviously, Japan is an ally in trying to contain Chinese aggression in the Indo-Pacific and the South China Sea. Airbus Elbow is off to the Pacific Islands Forum in Fiji later this week. Now, another place which had strict gun control but still had a shooting recently was Copenhagen. So 3 were murdered in a shopping mall, 2 Danes and 1 Russian citizen, but the 22-year-old man suspected of killing the 3 people. Police said the suspect had mental health issues, and there is no indication of a terror motive. He had a rifle and a knife, and his shooting was random. Now, there was of course, I wished our US friends a happy 4th of July on last week's show, but there was a horrific 4th of July shooting by this degenerate, Robin Crimo 3, and killed 7 people. And I know that there was some people attempted to tie him to the MAGA QAnon, but yeah, I mean, look at him. I mean, he's just like I said, degenerate is the most summarizing term that I can say, and may he rot in jail. But he'd reportedly been planning the attack weeks in advance, according to police. Again, he was on the FBI radar, but there was obviously they didn't intervene to prevent this happening, and this seems to be a pattern. These people are known to like the authorities before they commit the mass shootings, but apparently guns are the problem. And Biden had a victory in having that bipartisan red flag laws passed. Whether they'll do anything is the next thing. And Biden, as we saw, he gets instruction cards from his staff about what he needs to do to walk into a room. This week, the teleprompter, he forgot to distinguish between the text and cues.
Power. It is noteworthy that the percentage of women who register to vote and cast a ballot is consistently higher than the percentage of the men who do so. End of quote. Repeat the line. Women are not without electoral and or political, or maybe precise, not and or political power. That's another way of saying that you, the women of America, can determine the outcome of this issue. I don't think the court, or for that matter, the Republicans.
And we had the Babylon Bee have their own article. Biden says, I apologize for my latest teleprompter gaffe. End apology there. As president, the buck stops with me. Pause for dramatic effect. Earlier, I read the wrong words in the teleprompter. Don't say communitor or helicopter. I apologize for my latest teleprompter gaffe and apology. Now, this is like, obviously we knew he was getting sent off. This is getting really, really bad now, but he's still better than cackling Kamala Harris. And we also saw a very, interesting, bizarre, whatever you want to call it, a explosion partially destroyed the Georgia Guidestones. They have now been fully demolished. So unknown people detonated an explosive device in the middle of the night. So they were built in 1980 at a cost of $500,000 on behalf of a small group of loyal Americans who remain anonymous to this day, but is believed to include philanthropist and population control enthusiast Ted Turner. Turner has repeatedly advocated for a 95% population reduction and attends weird confabs with the likes of Bill Gates and George Soros to discuss how globalists could use their wealth to slow the growth of the world's population. So yes, their construction was a bizarre thing, and as is their demolition. Mad Pieman says Ted Turner pulled them. Well, if food shortages sweep the world with these quack fertilizer bans, then, well, there's going to be a lot of famine, and these globalists who want a 95% reduction in the population will think that it can be achievable. Obviously, this used to be the globalist and also weight loss book, the Communist Manifesto. That was the 19th century version. This is the 21st century one. The depopulation and also diet book as well. COVID-19, the Great Reset by Klaus Schwab and Theoria. All right, that's the show for tonight. I've gone overtime again. There'll be no Wilms Front this week. I'll see you all at 6 p.m. Melbourne time on Friday for Trad Tasman Talk on the Unshackled YouTube channel. And so Due will be my co-host this week, and Jacinta Ardern, she is back in New Zealand this week, although I'm not there was a case of Hendra virus, horse virus, discovered in Queensland, where a horse had to be euthanized. They haven't done the contact tracing yet, but Jacinta was in the country. And of course, the Andy Nolch show and his knowledge reports are available on the Andy Nolch BitChute channel, and there are new reports from Tiger Mountain with Richard Wollstonecroft uploaded to the Unshackled YouTube channel. Please be checking out the Unshackled.net, the Unshackled.net for our articles and also Productions Archive. Good night, everybody. Stay safe, stay sane, stay free, stay healthy, stay fed.
Tim's News Explosion. 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 Tim's News Explosion.